The art of painting in Assam sprang out of a culture of text illumination in line and color. This is a place of immense diversity where a wide range of styles, techniques, experiments, conceptions, and inclinations are combined as a work of artistic unity in the evolution of a particular ism. The mighty Brahmaputra of Assam in India and the Brahmaputra civilization. From ancient Pragjotishpur, Khamaru or Kamrupa in the early centuries to Mundung Sungkham of the Ahom rulers in the 12th century and current Assam, a long cherished memory, history, legends, and civilization itself are the evidence of the development of art and paintings since time immemorial. The history of painting dates back to prehistoric peoples, and it represents a continuous tradition that spans centuries, countries, and millennia. Painting has a long history in India too, as evidenced by the rock paintings of Bhimbetka, the murals of Ajanta and Ellora, the Buddhist texts, and numerous small paintings. Painting is an age-old culture in Assam as well. It is an aesthetic continuum that spans early civilization to the current day and has served as a source of inspiration for thousands of art enthusiasts around the world since the dawn of time. And the tradition of painting in Assam developed around the culture of manuscript illustration during the medieval period, and for the unmatched quality and outstanding strokes of mastery, the art of painting in Assam has become an integral part of the rich Assamese culture and heritage over time.
Historically, this painting tradition of Assam can be pushed back to 7th century, as in I have mentioned about Bhaskar Burma's gift to Harshavardhana, which included items related to paintings.
It goes back to a long past, long history, because if you read Harsha Charita by Barnabhatta, there's a mention about, the gift given by our Kamrupa king, Bhaskar Barmana, in the 7th century AD.
Well, so true. A well-known expert on Assamese painting, Dr. Rajatananda Dasgupta, in his well-researched book, Eastern Indian Manuscript Paintings, wrote, and I quote, "The oldest reference to the use of colors is found in the book Harsha Charita of Banabhatta, which enumerates the presence of Kamrupa king Bhaskara Varman to Harshavardhana of Kannauj in India."
And it is wonderful to think, because that might have been a very, very vibrant tradition. Only because of that, he thought of including all those gifts in the list for Harshavardhana. Similarly, if you read the account of Yuan Sang, the Chinese traveler who had come to Assam, and of course he has written about Kamrupa. It's a very wonderful treatise, travel history, memoir also you can say. There also he talks about.
However, in ancient Assam, the use of geometrical lines and portraying good handiwork was common, as evidenced not only by the painting but also by sculpture. From the prehistoric era until the early medieval period, engraved drawings have been discovered in sculptural ruins of Assam. The Dor Porbotia door frame from the 6th to the 7th centuries, as well as the ruins of Deopahar from the 9th century, are among the numerous worth mentioning. The artists were patronized by the rulers of the Gupta, Varman, Pala, Salastambha dynasties, and unique motifs and styles of art were established as a result. Dr. R.D. Banerjee, a well known archaeologist, said on this incredible handiwork that, and I quote, the human figures reveal the existence of acanthus motif in the distant corner of Assam.
We see that in some caves, some engraved picture we can see, though those can be called, painting also, or lining pictures. Even then, we know that even when a sculptor is going to engrave something, he is to use line at first.
Exactly. The paintings on the stone walls of the caves used as abodes by the Aboriginal people marked the distant history of human presence. And it was at this period that painting concepts and techniques were developed. In the geography of Assam, there was some evidence of cave dwellers, or the Gumai Maju as they are known locally, who drew on the cave walls.
We see that in Assam also, in the caves, the early people, they tried to express their thoughts and experiences through lines. And we do not know what sort of materials they used to engrave. We do not know if they used color, then how they prepared their colors.
In his well regarded book, Upojamati, The Land of Birth, writer Dr. Horod Phukon provides an astounding commentary on cave arts of ancient Assam unearthed near Khabak, Khartung in Dima Hasao district, where he compares these cave arts to the famed Bhimbetka murals of India. The linear representations of figural arts reveal the earliest tradition of paintings too. These paintings are geometrically linear and more schematic. In ancient Assam, painting in particular and other forms of art in general achieved their pinnacle through the Middle Ages. Traditional artwork can be seen in many medieval manuscripts. It is also true that the Bhakti movement is responsible for the emergence of this vibrant culture of art and imagination.
সত্ৰসমূহত বা অসমৰ বিভিন্ন গাঁওসমূহত সাঁচিপতৰ পুথিৰ প্ৰচলন অতীজত আছে আৰু এতিয়াও আছে।
Thus, the heritage of pictorial style was created in the Hotra precincts. Hotra, the Vaishnava monastery. Assam in the 15th century. Saint Srimanta Shankardev began a renaissance to regenerate society through religious motivation, and the saint cemented Assam's place on the cultural map by establishing an institution of excellence in the arts, culture, and literature, where the traditional method of painting flourished as well.
Srimanta Shankardev, he was a Renaissance personality. He was not just a composer like many of the Bhakti saints. Why Shankardev is so interesting? Because he's different in the sense that he was also an artist. He was a writer. He was a social reformer. So you think of the monastery Hotras, the religious monastery that he set up, and it became the hub of so many multiple art forms. He started this vibrant tradition, and Kshatriya school of art or painting emerged.
The paintings were originally graphic renditions of religious scriptures. Since then, painting has continued to evolve from traditional to modern perspectives in Assam.
কিন্তু সেই চিত্ৰবিলাকৰ এটা ডাঙৰ বৈশিষ্ট্য আছে কি তাৰ ৰংটো হেঙুল হাইতেল। হেঙুল হাইতেলটো তেতিয়া কেনেকৈ সংগ্ৰহ কৰিছিলে আমি নাজানো, কিন্তু হেঙুল হাইতেল তাত প্ৰয়োগ কৰিছে বুলি আমি জানো। আৰু তাৰ উপৰি নীলটো গোটা নীল, ঢল মাটি ইত্যাদিবিলাক ৰঙক লৈ পেলাই সেই চিত্ৰখিনি অংকন কৰিছিল। ইয়াৰ বৈজ্ঞানিক বৈশিষ্ট্য আছে কি হেঙুল হাইতেলটো এটা তিতা বস্তু প্ৰয়োজন, এটা বিষ টাইপৰ, গতিকে তাত যাতে পোকে সোনকালে আক্ৰমণ কৰিব নোৱাৰে সেইকাৰণে সেই হেঙুল হাইতেলেৰে সেই ৰংখিনি দিছিলে। আৰু তাত বেলৰ আঠা দিছিলে, এটা প্ৰাকৃতিক সম্পূৰ্ণ প্ৰাকৃতিক ৰং। গতিকে সেই প্ৰাকৃতিক ৰংটো প্ৰাকৃতিক আঠাৰ লগত মিক্স কৰি দিছিলে। সেইকাৰণে বস্তু আজি পৰ্যন্ত এইখিনি অক্ষুণ্ণ হৈ আছে বুলি আমি ভাবোঁ।
According to the experts, indigenous methods in the glorious legacy have vital clues of environmental friendly chemical and biochemical technology. The research paper of Dr. Robin Dotto, a professor at Tezpur Central University in Assam, reveals and explains the durability and scientific worth of the natural color components employed in traditional Assamese paintings. For traditional drawings, manuscript leaves in Assam was created from two materials, khasipat and tulapat. Khasi tree bark or aloes wood or Aquilaria agalocha are used to make the thicker variant. In Majuli, the only river island recognized as a center of Hotro type of art and culture, the ancient method of painting was practiced. This art form has existed from the 15th century, from the period of Saint Honkordev to the present day. The bark is cut into strips and rubbed either with hand or other substances to remove the scaly outer layer. Then, the strips are exposed to the dew and placed in cool water to extract the alkali. Then, the surface is scraped smooth with a knife. In terms of color, natural materials such as Fasculus radians were employed, as well as hengul, the crystalline mercuric sulfide, for red, and hytal, scientifically known as diarsenic trisulfide, for yellow. Aside from indigo, to maintain the product's longevity and quality, colors such as the extract of fruit pulp helica, the Terminalia citronal chebula, ash of dry bottle gourd shells, and a type of ochre known locally as karimati and dhalmati are employed.
অসমত আমি চিত্ৰকলাৰ বিষয়ে আলোচনা কৰিবলৈ গ'লে সচিত্ৰ পুথিৰ চিত্ৰসমূহকে আলোচনালৈ মাধ্যমলৈ আনিব লাগিব। ঠিক আছে, আমি সেই ধৰণে আলোচনালৈ আনিম। আৰু এইফালৰ পৰা আমি চাব লাগিব যে সচিত্ৰ পুথিসমূহৰ আগতীয়া পুথিসমূহ কি, ক'ৰ পৰা আহিছে, ক'ত পোৱা হৈছিলে। আগতীয়া পুথিসমূহ পোৱা হৈছিলে সত্ৰত। গতিকে এটা স্কুল সম্প্ৰদায় হ'ব পাৰে এইটো সত্ৰীয়া সম্প্ৰদায়, সত্ৰৰ মাজত বিকশিত হৈছিল, সত্ৰত ইয়াৰ বিৱৰ্তন ঘটিছিল। আৰু সেইফালৰ পৰা পুৰণি পুথি যিবিলাক পুথি আছে, চিত্ৰ ভাগৱতেই হওক বা ষষ্ঠ স্কন্ধ ভাগৱতেই হওক 1668 খ্ৰীষ্টাব্দৰ, বা ভক্তিৰত্নাৱলী হ'ল কমলাবাৰী সত্ৰৰ, এইবিলাক চব সত্ৰত অংকন কৰা হৈছিলে। গতিকে সেই শৈলীটোক সত্ৰীয়া শৈলী বুলি কোৱা হয়।
As a result, the medieval period marked a turning point in Assamese painting. However, if we look further ahead, we can find another type of art or painting known as Thai Ahom paintings which originated when the Thai dynasty relocated to Assam in the early medieval century.
অসমৰ পুথিচিত্ৰৰ পৰম্পৰাৰ ইতিহাস বহু পুৰণি। সেইটো এতিয়ালৈকে এক বিদ্যায়তনিক গৱেষণা, বিদ্যায়তনিক অনুসন্ধান হৈ উঠা নাই বুলিও ক'ব পাৰি। যদি আমি চাওঁ যে আহোম যুগত টাইসকল যিটো ধৰণে প্ৰব্ৰজন কৰি আহিছিল, বিভিন্ন গোষ্ঠী আহোমৰ পৰা তাৰ পৰৱৰ্তী সময়ত বিভিন্ন টাই শাখা গোষ্ঠীয়ে অসমলৈ প্ৰব্ৰজন কৰিছিল। তেওঁলোকৰ লগতে যিখিনি পুথিপাঁজি লৈ আনিছিল, সেই পুথিপাঁজিসমূহত চিত্ৰৰ যথেষ্ট আমি সমাহাৰ দেখোঁ বিভিন্ন ধৰণেৰে। আৰু এইখিনিয়ে অসমৰ পৰম্পৰাগত যি পুথিচিত্ৰ বা চিত্ৰ পৰম্পৰা সেইখিনি সমৃদ্ধ কৰিছে।
Chaulung Sukapha. Under his able leadership, the Ahoms or Thais came to present-day Assam in the 13th century, and the dynasty ruled for over 600 years.
Sukapha and his followers came to Assam in the early part of 13th century. In 1228, he reached the Brahmaputra Valley actually, crossing the Patkai. After coming to this land, when he started to rule a small kingdom on the bank of the Dikho river, they had a kind of paintings which is called as Ahom style, Thai Ahom style of painting, where the concept of heaven and hell are depicted. Though these are not exactly painting but outlined, and most are like drawings. Sometimes these were filled with colors.
The Phung Chin manuscript, dated 1473 of the Christian era, and Suktangta Kempong in Thai language and script are two examples of the oldest manuscript illustration in Assam. These pictures were created in the Burmese style and originated in Southeast Asia rather than Assam. Dr. Rajatananda Dasgupta wrote in his book, The Eastern Indian Manuscript Paintings, that, and I quote, "The earliest extant examples of manuscript illustration in Assam are from the Phung Chin manuscript."
এই পুথিখনৰ নাম আমাৰ টাই ভাষে মতে মানে ফুং চেইন। ফুং অৰ্থ হ'ল মানে স্তৰ, আৰু চেইন হ'ল একাদিক্ৰমে যিটো আছে সেইটোকে কয় চেইন। একাদিক্ৰমে যিটো মানে স্তৰ মানে এটাৰ পিছত এটা, বুদ্ধৰ দৰ্শনৰ মতে যিটো 21টা ভূমি, বিশেষকৈ সৰ্বসাধাৰণে সৰু ল'ৰাৰ পৰা বুঢ়ালৈকে বুজিব পৰাকৈ ছবিৰ আকাৰে মানে ইয়াত মানে সন্নিৱিষ্ট কৰা আছে। ছবিটো চায়েই কিছু নহয় কিছু আইডিয়াটো মানে পাব পাৰে।
যদি আমি চাওঁ যে টাইসকলৰ পুথি যিখিনি তেওঁলোকৰ লগত সংৰক্ষিত হৈ আছে বিভিন্ন টাই জনগোষ্ঠীৰ মাজত, তাত কিছুমান চিত্ৰ বৌদ্ধ পৰম্পৰাৰ ফালৰ পৰা সেইখিনি আহিছে, সমৃদ্ধ কৰিছে আজি অসমৰ পৰম্পৰাগত পুথিচিত্ৰসমূহত। আৰু কিছুমান টাইমূলীয় যিখিনি ফক পৰম্পৰা, লোক পৰম্পৰা, সেই টাইমূলীয় লোক পৰম্পৰাৰ পৰাও কিছুমান চিত্ৰ আহিছে বিভিন্ন পুথিপাঁজিত, সেইখিনি সমৃদ্ধ কৰিছে।
Though these Buddhist illustrated manuscripts arrived in Assam with migratory Buddhists and Thais, they eventually became the resource books for Assamese illustrated books as a result of cultural interaction. They can be regarded as an important element of Assamese cultural heritage.
But yes, overall it is a very important school of the Assamese manuscript painting. As we say, the Satriya school, Royal Ahom school, Dorongi school. So this is also very important component because it takes up the Buddhist section, Buddhist community, Buddhist philosophy and ideology, and their cosmology, their theology. So it is comparably, it could be lesser in number, but it is very important, significant. It plays important. Why it is important? Because you can see the retaining of the Shan style of painting from that Upper Burma and all. And also then amalgamation of some of the indigenous components here. So this again is a very good example of interpolation or interconnectivity, cultural exchange that's happening.
However, in Assam, the art of painting has grown from the 15th century, centered around the hot draws, to the illustrations of a manuscript on Hasi bark in line and color. The illustrated holy books, which were primarily used for religious purposes, ushered in a new period in Assamese painting style.
From the days of the Shankardeva to the later period even, the Assamese painting flourished, and this miniature painting especially, it reached the top of its own, because we see that in paintings of Bhagavata Purana and other Puranas too, they use some techniques to show the differences of places, differences of the standing postures of the figures, and they use different colors also, so that the viewer can immediately recognize.
সচিত্ৰ পুথিয়েই হওক বা ছবিয়েই হওক, যিখিনি পোৱা হৈছে সেইখিনি পুথিচিত্ৰ হিচাপে পোৱা হৈছে, আৰু সেই পুথিচিত্ৰসমূহ আমি পাইছোঁ সপ্তদশ শতিকাৰ পৰা। সপ্তদশ শতিকাৰ প্ৰথম যিখন ডেটেড, যিখন তাৰিখ থকা পুথি, সেইখন পোৱা হৈছে ৰঙিয়া অঞ্চলত। তাৰপিছত আমি অন্য তাৰিখ থকা পুথি 1685 খ্ৰীষ্টাব্দত ভক্তি ৰত্নাৱলী কমলাবাৰী সত্ৰ আমি পাইছোঁ।
This is one of the earliest paintings of Assam, now housed in Komalabari Khatra of Majuli, and it reveals a different manner of manuscript construction. These painted manuscripts were not prepared with hasi bark. Here is another traditional manuscript preparation, tulapat. The process of tulapat making is different. It is essentially a paper made from the wood pulp, basically maithai or yamon tree, where the bark of the tree is cut into different sizes and beaten thoroughly to break its fiber and become loose. They were then boiled until dissolved and a fine pulp produced. After that, it was mixed with cow dung and cotton before being poured onto rectangular molds to assume shape. The style is strongly figural in this painted manuscript. The figures with stiff contours can be considered as a typical aspect of the painting style. But the most important aspect to note is that the methodology of color preparation used conventional philosophy, and combining with their selected method has given the art its everlasting durability to this day. In his article, Place of Assam in the History of Civilization of India, prominent Indian linguist and scholar Dr. Suniti Kumar Chatterjee wrote, and I quote, "The confident and flexible style of the Kshatriya school arose as an autonomous way of expression out of this glorious and mixed heritage." Miniatures made in this style have an epic character in them.
আৰু তাৰিখ থকা পুথি আমি 1732 খ্ৰীষ্টাব্দত কৰতিপাৰ সত্ৰৰ চিত্ৰ ৰত্নাৱলীখন পাইছোঁ। গতিকে এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ সময়ে সময়ে তাৰিখ থকা দুই এখন পোৱা হৈছে। এতিয়া কথা হ'ল কি যে আমাৰ পুথিচিত্ৰৰ ঐতিহ্যৰ আটাইতকৈ মূল্যৱান পুথিখনেই হৈছে চিত্ৰ ভাগৱত। চিত্ৰ ভাগৱত মানে পুথিখনৰ নাম আচলতে চিত্ৰ ভাগৱত নহয়, পুথিখন আছিলে আদি দশম। সেইখন কিন্তু তাৰিখবিহীন, যদিও তাত এটা শক লিখা আছে 1461 শক। 1461 শক 1539 খ্ৰীষ্টাব্দ হ'বগৈ মহাপুৰুষ শংকৰদেৱৰ জীৱনকালৰ ভিতৰত।
Paintings of Adi Dokhom, discovered in Assam's Bali Khatra, are a unique example of medieval art. The publishing of the printed book, Chitra Bhagavat, with Adi Dokhom's artwork in the early 19th century was a watershed moment. Dr. Suniti Kumar Chatterjee, in his review of Dr. Moheshwar Neog's book, The Art of Painting in Assam, talked about the painted version of Chitra Bhagavat that, and I quote, "To the student of medieval Indian painting, the publication of Chitra Bhagavat threw up a new and hitherto undiscovered chapter."
এখন হ'ল মহাপুৰুষ শ্ৰীমন্ত শংকৰদেৱ গুৰুজনাৰ যি আদি দশম ভাগৱতৰ যি দশম স্কন্ধ, সেই দশম স্কন্ধক তিনিটা ভাগত বিভক্ত কৰি গুৰুজনাই লিখিছে। তো এইটোক কয় আদি দশম। ই সম্পূৰ্ণ সচিত্ৰ। ইয়াৰ কথাংশৰ লগত চিত্ৰসমূহ মিলাই চিত্ৰখিনি অঁকা হয়। ই সাঁচি পাতত আৰু হেঙুল আৰু হাইতাল নেচাৰেল যিটো মানে ৰং মানে আমাৰ প্ৰাকৃতিকভাৱে প্ৰস্তুত কৰি সেই ৰঙৰ দ্বাৰা এইখিনি অঁকা হৈছে, যিখিনি আজি পৰ্যন্ত সুন্দৰ অৱস্থাত আছে, ভাল হৈ আছে। এই পুথিভাগ লিখা হৈছে 1721 শকত আৰু এই পুথিখনত সৰ্বমুঠ 231 পৃষ্ঠা আছে।
In terms of angularity of lines and face sharpness, the Chitra Bhagavat painting style marks an advanced stage of development in the Kshatriya painting style, and it differs from Ratnavali manuscript paintings. So, India's renowned scholar and Indologist Dr. Krishnakanta Handik wrote in the prologue of the printed book Chitra Bhagavat that, and I quote, "The history of medieval Indian art has been the topic of extensive scholarship in recent years, but very little is known about the materials available in Assam." A cosmological treatise, the Anadipatana, is a portrayal of the universe's inception and progression. And this is one of the most significant and unorthodox paintings from Assam's medieval period, when the artists here implemented new conventions of the greatest craftsmanship instead of religious ideas. Those were in a figurative sense in an abstract form.
অনাদিপাতন হ'ল সৃষ্টিতত্ত্বৰ বিষয় লৈ পেলাই এখন গ্ৰন্থ। সৃষ্টিতত্ত্ব হেৰি কৰিবলৈ যাওঁতে কেনেকৈ ব্ৰহ্মাণ্ড ধ্বংস হয়, আকৌ ধ্বংসৰ বুকুতে পুনৰ ব্ৰহ্মাণ্ড কেনেকৈ সৃষ্টি হয়, এই গোটেই তত্ত্বটোৱেই আছে অনাদিপাতনত। আৰু সেইকাৰণে অনাদিপাতনৰ প্ৰথম ছবিখনেই ধ্বংসৰ ছবি।
It is about the abstraction, the nature of abstraction. In Anadipatan, if you look at that is a painting on cosmology. It is a standalone painting, work of art. Even from a very modernist point of view, you do not need to know the context, the religious context of, the Mahapralaya or the cosmology. The way the painter has visualized, the artist has visualized, the color palette, the composition, that abstraction is it's very rare. And I think it is one of the beautiful cultural heritage of Assam.
অসমীয়া চিত্ৰত মধ্যযুগৰ পৰাই আচলতে বিমূৰ্তকৰণ প্ৰক্ৰিয়াটো আৰম্ভ হৈছে। বিমূৰ্ত চিন্তা, বিমূৰ্ত শৈলী ছবিৰ এইটো সত্ৰীয়া যুগৰ পৰাই আৰম্ভ হৈছে। গুৰু শংকৰদেৱৰ পাছৰ পৰাই অনাদিপাতনকে ধৰি যিবিলাক ছবি মানে অংকিত হৈছে, সাঁচিপাতত আঁকিছে, তোলাপাতত আঁকিছে, মানে হেঙুল হাইতাল বা মাটি তেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ ৰঙেই আঁকিছে। কিন্তু কথাটো হ'ল যে বিমূৰ্ত ছবিৰ ধাৰণাটো, বস্তু এটাক বিমূৰ্ত কৰি চিন্তা কৰাৰ যিটো শিল্পীৰ চিন্তা, এই চিন্তাটো কিন্তু তেতিয়াই আৰম্ভ হৈছে।
At that time, even in the West, this type of abstraction you will not find. But in 18th century Assam, in Anadipatan, many of those paintings is purely abstract.
It also simultaneously talks about the interconnection, the interpolation between art forms and also the science that must have developed in Assam. So here we are talking about indigenous knowledge system of the nature of cosmology, at the same time illustration through the artistic, depiction.
The fact is that the Kshatriya style originated with the Bhakti cult as Assam's indigenous school of painting. As a result, a thriving artistic heritage arose. And among these arts, two of the most unique in the world of the context of that age, one of which is regrettably no longer in existence, but is mentioned in the Kothaguru Sarita, the biography of the great saint written by Ramsaran Thakur. Amongst them, Chinnayatra is a reference in Hotro and other study works that refers to a painting in a theatre.
চিহ্ন যাত্ৰা চিহ্ন হ'ল চিন চিম্বল ছবিৰ চিম্বল বস্তু ছবিও চিম্বল যাত্ৰা হৈছে ভাওনা
Interestingly, in Guru Charit, which is a biography of the saint, Bhakti saint, scholar, Hankardev, there's a mention that he was a painter. He painted Hat Boikunthar pot. Hat Boikuntha means the seven heaven. Depiction of, there's a concept in Hindu mythology, there's a concept that there are 7 types of heaven. So he did that. There was a bhavna, theatrical performance called Sihna Jatra, where he did it.
অৱশ্যে এইটো ঠিক যে চিহ্নযাত্ৰাত সংলাপ কি আছিল সেই বিষয় লৈ পেলাই আমি একো নাজানো এইকাৰণে যে তাত সেই নাটকখন পাবলৈ নাই নাটকখনো নষ্ট হৈ গ'ল কিন্তু তাত পট অংকন কৰিছিল এইটো খাটাং
অসমৰ ছবিৰ বাটকটীয়া বুলি ক'বলৈ যাওঁতে আমি সেই 16শ শতিকাৰ মহাপুৰুষ শ্ৰীমন্ত শংকৰদেৱৰ কথা ক'ব লাগিব যিহেতু তেখেতৰ এই সমাজখনক বুজাবৰ কাৰণে যিখন ছবি কৰিছিল সেই ছবিখনেই হ'ল প্ৰথম ছবি চিহ্ন যাত্ৰা আৰু মানুহখিনিক আধ্যাত্মিক দিশে কৃষ্ণ ভক্তিৰ বিষয়ে নিবৰ কাৰণে চিন্তা কৰিছিল
চিহ্নযাত্ৰাৰ পথ সম্পৰ্কত ৰামচৰণ ঠাকুৰে যিখিনি কৈছে সেইখিনিৰ বাহিৰে আমি অতিৰিক্তভাৱে জানিব পৰাৰ অন্য উপায় নাই হেঙুল হাইটেল ব্যৱহাৰ কৰিছে এইটো ঠিক কথা আৰু মাধ্যমটো কি তুলাপাতি নে খাচিপাতটো হ'বই নোৱাৰে তুলাপাতো হ'ব নোৱাৰে গতিকে মাধ্যমটো কাপোৰ হোৱাৰ সম্ভাৱনাটো নোহোৱা নহয় কাৰণ সেইটো স্ক্ৰল পেইণ্টিং জাতীয়
The Brindavani Bostra, another landmark in Assamese painting, is the pride of Assam. We accidentally misplaced it. But it is still on display in the British Museum in London and in the Guillemot Museum in Paris. A huge tapestry where the narratives drew here was Lord Krishna's boyhood story at Vrindavan, his birthplace. It was woven at Borpeta in Assam under the supervision of Saint Hankardev.
That is not found now, but it also started a tradition. But there is undoubtedly this tradition of weaving Brindavani Bostra was a part of that Satriya culture.
আৰু বিশেষভাৱে আমি বৃন্দাবনী বস্ত্ৰত যিটো আচলতে সেইটো এটা চিত্ৰাংকনে আৰু সেই ছবিবোৰ নিশ্চিতভাৱে সেই সময়ৰ কোনোবা চিত্ৰশিল্পীয়ে বেলেগকৈ আঁকিছিল আৰু সেইবোৰ কাপোৰত বৈছিল
In Assam, there is another type of manuscript art called Lotakota Puthi, which is a text with an embroidered border. Lotakota Puthi is manuscripts with illuminated margins. We see similar paintings with margins or boundaries on painted scriptures in Mughal paintings as well, but the margins here are of exclusive Assamese traditional patterns.
অসমৰ সাঁচিপাতৰ পুথিৰ প্ৰচলন সাধাৰণতে 3 ভাগত পোৱা গৈছে সাধাৰণ পুথি লতাকটা পুথি আৰু চিত্ৰ পুথি লতাকটা আৰু চিত্ৰ পুথিত অসমীয়া সংস্কৃতিৰ যিটো কলা সেই কলাটো খুব সুন্দৰকৈ ফুটি উঠিছে এই কলাখিনিৰ ভিতৰত চিত্ৰ পুথিৰ কলাটো ভাৰতবৰ্ষৰ অন্যান্য চিত্ৰৰ লগত সাদৃশ্য নাই এটা সক্ৰিয় কলা হিচাপে চিহ্নিত হৈছে
From the 16th century onwards, with the advent of Neo Vaishnavism under the auspices of Saint Hankardev, we have a plethora of concrete instances of painting in its true meaning which flourished until the late 19th century. These polychrome paintings, also known as manuscript paintings, were depictions of stories from the Bhagavata, Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and other Hindu epics. They were painted on hasipat or tulapat and included written descriptions. So far, at least, 100 manuscripts have been uncovered, each having such paintings. These paintings demonstrate how both their form and spirit are traditionally interwoven with the Indian painting tradition's underlying aesthetic concept. Time passes. Moments pass. A new wave of paintings, known as Royal Court of Paintings, formed in the later medieval Assam between 1696 and 1714 AD, patronized by the Tungkhungya clan of the Ahom dynasty under the major patronage of King Rudra Singha, was also known as the golden time of the Ahom dynasty.
After the coming of the Ahoms, that is in medieval period, we have also the tradition of painting. In the 18th century, we have seen a different scene in the field of painting of Assam because it was patronized by the court, Ahom court. Rudra Singha, actually Rudra Singha was the king who wanted to emulate some of the styles of other parts of India, Mughal India. He invited artists and painters, and that is why we have seen a different scene after Rudra Singha.
In his well-researched work, The Eastern Indian Manuscript Painting, Dr. Rajatananda Dasgupta also stated that the new kind of painting, which we name Gorgonya, was an example of court art as opposed to the earlier Hotriya form, which was a bourgeois art. The name comes from Gorgaon, the capital of the royal Ahom dynasty. In his book, The Art of Paintings in Assam, Dr. Moheswar Neok, an Assamese scholar, wrote, and I quote, "A new and secular school of the art of paintings thus seems to have been founded in the eastern Assam under the Ahoms." As a result of the court's patronage, many rare illustrations such as the Gita Govinda, Hasti Vidyanava were commissioned.
গীত গোবিন্দ এখন বৰ তাৎপৰ্যপূৰ্ণ গ্ৰন্থ, এখন সচিত্ৰ গ্ৰন্থ হিচাপে অসমতো স্বৰ্গদেউ ৰুদ্ৰসিংহ ৰাজসভাত এখন সচিত্ৰ কৰা হৈছিল বুলি কোৱা হয়। ছবি অংকন ৰাজসভাতেই কৰিছিল নে ক'ত কৰা হৈছিল সেই কথাটো আমি খাটাংকৈ কৈ দিব নোৱাৰোঁ, কিন্তু কথা হ'ল যে ৰাজসভাৰ সচিত্ৰ ছবি আছে, চিত্ৰ আছে যিহেতু, গতিকে আমি ৰাজসভাতে কৰা হৈছিল বুলি ভাবিব পাৰোঁ, ধৰি ল'ব পাৰোঁ। কিন্তু কথা হ'ল যে যিটো শৈলী, এই শৈলীটো সত্ৰীয়া শৈলী, সত্ৰৰ শিল্পীসকলে কৰা এটা শৈলীৰ আধাৰত এই ছবিখিনি অংকন কৰা হৈছিল, আৰু এই শৈলীটো 1685 খ্ৰীষ্টাব্দৰ পৰা 1732 খ্ৰীষ্টাব্দৰ ভিতৰত।
Though it was patronized by the royal court, Gita Govinda is claimed to reflect an advanced form of the Hotriya school. The original text of the book relates to Lord Krishna's unending amorous love for Radha, and it is here that the artist demonstrates his amazing ability to create an aesthetically coherent artwork. The manuscript was so well illustrated that there isn't a single folio that hasn't been illustrated. According to acclaimed art critic Dr. Rajatananda Dasgupta, the manuscript's most notable quality is that it only comprises Ragamala paintings. But the most noteworthy aspect is that India's stalwart and well-known art critic Dr. Kapila Vatsyayan wrote the finest compliment on Gita Govinda's paintings that, and I quote, "Gita Govinda of Kaviraj Ram Narayan's Assamese version is an important landmark in the history of both Assamese literature and painting style."
Whenever we talk about traditional painting, mostly they are associated with religion, because at the time paint or any art form was a medium for propagation of religion. That is understood, right? So we have Chitra Bhagavata Purana or this, Gita Govinda. These are all religious. Gita Govinda, for example, it talks about the love of Radha and Krishna. So there are, and it is also translation of the Jadav's Gita Govinda, which is very interesting that it was, copied here and done, illustration was done. So it is a very interesting example of assimilation, of actually pan-Indian assimilation.
গীত গোবিন্দৰ পিছত আনন্দ লহৰী লহৰীখন একেটা শৈলীতে কৰা আনন্দ লহৰীখন আকৌ স্বৰ্গদেউ শিৱসিংহৰ ৰাজসভাত কৰা তাত যিবিলাক চিত্ৰ আছে ৰাজসভাৰ সেইবিলাক স্বৰ্গদেউ শিৱসিংহৰ ৰাজসভাৰ এইটো ঠিক 1722 খ্ৰীষ্টাব্দৰ ভিতৰত সম্পন্ন কৰা হৈছিল
The Ananda Lahari, which was painted by Ananda Dvija during the reign of Ahom king Shivasingha, is the only Shakta illustrated text that has been discovered so far. Shakta is a religious cult that was supported by the Ahom kings during the medieval period. Hasti Vidyarnava, an elephant treatise, where the folios speak to the most incredible fact about the art of painting that emerged in medieval Assam.
হস্তি বিদ্যানৱ এখন উৎকৃষ্ট পৰ্যায়ৰ সচিত্ৰ পুথি অসমত হস্তি বিদ্যানৱৰ 3টা সচিত্ৰ সংস্কৰণ আমি পাওঁ এটা গজেন্দ্ৰ চিন্তামণি 1713 খ্ৰীষ্টাব্দ দ্বিতীয়খন হ'ল এই 1734 খ্ৰীষ্টাব্দৰ সুকুমাৰ বৰকাঠৰ আৰু তৃতীয়খন আউনীতি সত্ৰত আছে আৰু সেইখন স্বৰ্গদেউ গৌৰীনাথ সিংহৰ দিনৰ পুথিখনত তাৰিখ নাই
This whole manuscript is about elephants. It is so interesting. And this is beautifully done. And another interesting thing happens here. Again, as we are talking about assimilation, cultural assimilation. So it seems the king had, the Ahom king, the patron king, he had invited two painters from the royal Mughal court, Dilbar and Doshai. They had come and settled here and they did the illustration of this Hasti Vidyarnava.
The paintings of Hastir Vidyarnava are significant in that they exhibit the matured individuality of the medieval art form in Assam.
মূল লেখকজন শম্ভুনাথ কিমান প্ৰকাৰ হাতী থাকিব পাৰে হাতীৰ বেমাৰ আজাৰৰ কথা আহিব পাৰে হাতী ধৰাৰ কথা আহিব পাৰে হাতী ধৰিবলৈ যাওঁতে বা হাতীৰ প্ৰসংগত পূজা পাতলৰ কথা আহিব পাৰে আৰু যেহেতু হাতীৰ ৰাজকীয় সম্পদ আৰু সেইফালৰ পৰা ৰজাঘৰৰ লগত হাতীৰ যিটো সম্বন্ধ এই সম্বন্ধটো সুৰক্ষিত কৰিবৰ কাৰণে ৰজাঘৰৰ সমাজখন ইয়ালৈ আহিছে
The medieval Assamese painting reached its climax during this period. We can consider it because it included not only religious themes but also secular themes. When we can see the different types of classes of people, women, men, and all this.
Though Hasti Vidyarnava has Mughal and Rajasthani influences, it is a fusion of indigenous art strengthened by the traditional motifs. The colored miniatures reveal a strong school of Hindu paintings that existed in the 18th century, says acclaimed Indian folklorist Dr. Suniti Kumar Chatterjee. Apart from Rajasthani, Rajput, Kangra, and Mughal schools, Assam deserves a position of honor. Apart from their topical and historical importance, these miniatures have an aesthetic appeal that makes them a permanent possession which art enthusiasts cannot overlook. The most notable of the illustrated books hitherto discovered is undoubtedly the treatise on elephants known as Hasti Vidyarnava, said eminent historian Dr. Khurja Kumar Bhuya.
Though it was made on hasi bark, but earlier style, which is found in the Alekhastana of the, particularly in the religious works which were given in the Satriya school also, but in these paintings of Hasti Vidyarnava, the scene is quite different, and so it can be considered one of the unique piece of painting of 18th century Assam.
1713 খ্ৰীষ্টাব্দত মোগল শিল্পী অহাৰ পিছৰ পৰা আমাৰ অসমত ক্ৰমে ক্ৰমে নতুন এটা শৈলী চিত্ৰশৈলী বিকশিত হৈছিল আহোম ৰাজসভাত আৰু সেইটো আমি পাম 1724 খ্ৰীষ্টাব্দৰ শংকৰচূড়বত সেইখনেই সচিত্ৰ গ্ৰন্থ যিখনত স্পষ্টতঃ অসমৰ মানুহ সংস্কৃতি আৰু প্ৰকৃতি এইবিলাক তাত প্ৰকাশ পাইছে প্ৰথম
Exactly. Shankasur Bodh Kavya's paintings in particular heralded a new era, and the paintings of medieval Assam, on the other hand, had distinct characteristics and aesthetic styles.
say for example the horizontal progression. Usually in the other parts of India you find vertical, and they are done in rectangular isolation, but whereas in Assam it is seen that mostly they are done in horizontal progression, and then the sequences are also put in a flatly in the same plane, and there are the colors, the background is mostly monochromatic, red or brown, blue, green at times, subdued green of course, and then the physiognomy, that is not given that much importance according to the scholars, but overall there's a certain kind of prototype, and overall the symmetry and balance is kept, so that you see in a cluster, you see in a collective, not in a singular individualized characterization is seen. I mean, it happened.
The Hotriya or royal paintings idiom was relocated to the north bank of the mighty Brahmaputra river in the later medieval period, and as a result, another type of art, miniature paintings, was born in the royal court of the Darang kings. The majority of this was defined by folk treatment of forms. The Daranga Rajbhamsavali, which was composed between 1791 and 1806 AD and depicted the historical chronicle of the Daranga monarchs or the Koch royal dynasty, was a noteworthy work of this art style.
দৰঙী কোচ ৰজাৰ পৃষ্ঠপোষকতাত আমাৰ সাহিত্য সংস্কৃতিৰ বিভিন্ন দিশত উন্নতি ঘটিছে, আৰু সেই দিশত বিশেষকৈ চিত্ৰকলাৰ যেটো উন্নতি হেতু অভূতপূৰ্ব বুলি আমি ক'ব লাগিব। অসমত হাজিপাতত লিখা বহুত বুৰঞ্জী আছে, কিন্তু সচিত্ৰ বুৰঞ্জী মই এতিয়ালৈকে দেখা নাই।
অসমৰ চিত্ৰকলাত, পুৰণি চিত্ৰকলাত দৰঙৰ এই ৰাজবংশালীখনৰ দৰে কিন্তু খুব বিৰল। ইয়াৰ প্ৰত্যেকটো ইয়াৰ যিবোৰ ইন্ধন বা ইয়াৰ যিবিলাক সামগ্ৰী গোটাইছিল, ইয়াৰ সাঁচিপাতখন যেনেকৈ ৰং তুলিকা যেনেকুৱা ব্যৱহাৰ কৰিছে, সেইটো কিন্তু অনন্য।
এতিয়ালৈ আমি যিখন ৰাজবংশালী পাইছোঁ, ইয়াত 104টা পৃষ্ঠা আছে। এই 104 পৃষ্ঠাত প্ৰতিটো পাততে সুন্দৰ সুন্দৰ ফটো আছে, আৰু সেই ফটোখিনিৰ লগত ছবি আছে, এই ছবিখিনিৰ লগত মিলাকৈ বৰ্ণনাখিনি আছে, ইতিহাসৰ কথাখিনি আছে, আৰু আমি ইয়াতে দৰঙীয়া ষ্টাইল এটা বুলি ক'ব পাৰোঁ।
Of course, despite their distinctiveness, the Doranga types of painting are largely traditional, having strong ties to the religious branch of Assamese art.
দৰঙী ৰাজপৃষ্ঠপোষকতাত হোৱা আন এখন সচিত্ৰ পুথি আছে তীৰ্থকৌমুদী। সেইখন কৰিছিলে দৰঙী ৰজাৰ যি ৰাজপুৰোহিত আছিল, ৰাজপুৰোহিতৰ পৰিয়ালে, পীতাম্বৰ সিদ্ধান্ত বাগিছৰ দিনত কেইবাখনো কৌমুদী হৈছে, আৰু সেই কৌমুদীসমূহৰ ভিতৰত তীৰ্থকৌমুদীখন এখন উল্লেখযোগ্য পুথি।
Although the illustrations do not demonstrate great talent, they are tolerably decent examples of Indian art. Yes, indeed, it is true. The use of color and themes in painting has changed over the years in the context of conventional illustration. Leaving aside religious entities, the visual arts have become firmly interwoven in various aspects of social existence, constituting a rich component of Assam's art, architecture, culture, and legacy till the present era.
When you see the architectural structure of a hotra, and there are wood carvings, on top of it also you see painting, And then on the Simhasana in the Namghar, where you worship, there is this pedestal, isn't it? It's a very ornate and beautiful pedestal. And there also you see paint. So you could see this clan of Khonikor. Khonikor is a very beautiful word in Assamese which depicts the artist.
As a result, Assamese art has evolved into a combination of customs and cultural elements. And Assam's current tradition is a perfected and adapted version of Hongkordeb's original. People's feelings and attachments to nature were mirrored in their artistic representations. And today, Assam is known also for its art. However, in the later medieval period, many significant changes in Assam paintings happened as a result of numerous circumstances, such as changes in socio-economic status, the progressive fall of the traditional system, folk belief, and the expansion of mass culture. The once thriving crafts began to deteriorate.
Modern Assamese painting and the traditional Assamese painting, the difference. So in Europe, in the medieval time, their evolution is continuous. From the medieval time to Gothic time to Renaissance time, you can see the how gradually this modern Western painting took shape. But in case of Indian miniature painting, also including Assamese miniature painting, Indian modern painting, it is not the result of a evolutionary process. So in Assam, there is paintings where mostly in the manuscript. It is the illustration of the manuscript. And those paintings were kept in a very secured way, and general people don't have the opportunity to see them. So their inspiration come not from the Assamese miniature, but they come from the directly from the Western influences.
But for good, something wonderful has happened. We are not saying that it shouldn't have happened. Something new has come up with. But it is also true that some beautiful things have been lost in the process.
And now, a new generation is stepping up to learn and keep the age-old traditions alive.
There is a renewed interest by some young generation because they are looking for cultural identity. There is some kind of, because of the identity politics or going back or a certain trend of indigenism in the 70s, people are going back to their root. They are trying to relocate, revisit their past.
Painting has taken on a life of its own on the global stage, and it now occupies a prominent position in Assam's creative mosaic.
So there are some artists, young artists who have come up, they are trying to preserve it. And then also there are, new experimentations going on.
The paintings of Assam have evolved over the years to create a language that makes us feel of an aesthetic continuum. Painting is silent poetry, said Plutarch. It is the unspoken language that delves into the artistic collaboration of the past and the present.
Newness will come up only when you can stand on your own soil. Only then an artist or a writer can flourish. Only then he can stand of his own.
The paintings of ancient Assam not only reflect spiritual zeal, but also blend in with modern life. They continue to serve as a haven for medieval Assamese social, political, economic, and cultural riches. Any image from an antique Assam pictorial book still evokes the profound effect on art and painting by the rural Assam of the distant past.